gonna
Well,
That's a necessary piece of equipment.
just keep the door open.
Evan, did you bring that?
I didn't, but I did notice it. I did. I was like, why is there a rock sitting there? Looked like one of those little neat green ones, isn't it? I mean,
you should at least bring one of your beautiful gems in here for that.
I could do that. Put it on the table.
Okay. Well, at least I have them all ready. I have all copies of all of these ready to go.
Like up to,
Let's call the meeting to order at 6:30. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, good evening. All right, Article 1, appointment of a voter registrar. Leftover business from the town meeting. It is an appointed position. I have been in contact with Lindsay Weiser, who was also present at town meeting, and she has expressed an interest to be voter registrar. And I told her I'd bring it back to the board for discussion tonight. She's not able to be here tonight, she sends her apologies, but she's ready to step in as voter registrar.
It's cool, it's good, you need somebody to do it for November, right, and that seems like.
Elections are three weeks out, yes, Susan?
I would just like to know if, one, you were gonna read the letter that I presented to the board today.
Would you like to read it?
Sure. Board of Assessors, yesterday while trying to get caught up in the responsibilities of the clerk as the position relates to upcoming general election on November 7th, 2023, the Secretary of State Elections Office assigned me as the Registrar of Voters so that I may accomplish the required time-sensitive tasks. Leslie had been assigned to this position, but as you know, she will have responsibilities in Solon that same day and cannot be in attendance of our election here in the Forks Plantation. Sandra has consistently said she is working on it in reference to finding someone to fill this appointed position. However, I must stress that there is an election in 3 weeks and this cannot wait according to the Secretary of State. So that conversation took place with myself and the Elections Division of the Secretary of State yesterday.
And the
I did
person's
not,
name?
the person's name is Stephen, and I believe that's your message that you took from him. It was a phone call, he called me,
Mhm.
I didn't call him. The clerk and registrar's positions overlap and intersect in many ways in terms of elections. It only makes sense that this is the same person accomplishing both tasks. I do not know the etiology of why the registrar's position was cleaved off the clerk's job description, and I began to wonder if this was a common practice. I researched Jackman, Greenville, the West Forks, which I am mistaken in that one. They didn't have a website. I thought Denise was served both, but she doesn't, so we can scratch that one. Moscow, Bingham, Solon, Emden, Skowhegan, and Fairfield, and I did neglect to put Madison in here for another town. All of the above mentioned towns assign registrar duties to their town clerk. Furthermore, Angela Moen and Barbara Norman were assigned both positions during their time in office as clerk, even though, according to the Secretary of State, Stephen, stated that they were unable to manage the CVR or AVR online, and that the state had to take control of those tasks. Recently, I was asked to proofread the annual town meeting minutes and had to watch pieces of the video taken that night to remind myself of the specifics. What I noticed was that there was one person who objected to me becoming the elected clerk. That person was Sandra Thompson, the first assessor of the Forks Plantation, who was in a position to influence the appointment of the registrar of voters. Even so, I offered my willingness to serve both positions to Sandra that same night. The apparent refusal to appoint me is nothing short of discrimination. While I do not want to make waves, I will be forced to pursue legal advice as to the validity of this action. If there is a legitimate reason why the Board of Assessors thinks that I should not serve as Registrar of Voters, I am willing to discuss and accept the board's decision, but the reason cannot be because of a personal vendetta or a popularity contest. They regret having to submit this letter, but I am committed to serving our town to the best of my ability and have every intention of overcoming the hurdle presented before me to do so. Susan Hathaway. So I guess my question is, what does the board feel that Lindsay will bring to this position that I cannot? Does she have experience?
Well, just let me speak. If it's got nothing to do with people and personalities, it's best to have the two things separated.
In whose opinion?
Well, in the past, that's what we've done when we could. We've had situations where we had people that have quit, and we've had people help and fill those positions and have done both things. But
As in the last two clerks? Again, the
No.
positions,
Angela was voter registrar.
and she was the clerk.
No,
Okay,
she's the treasurer.
okay, then mistaken then.
I mean, if it is an appointed position and there's two people that are interested,
Right.
then that's why we bring it to the table and we talk
That's
about it. And, I mean,
Okay,
it
that's
doesn't seem
fair.
like,
Yeah.
we haven't even done it yet and there's already this letter, so to me, that's a little concerning.
You hadn't had a chance to read it?
Well, no, I just, no, I didn't, I just heard it right now.
Oh,
But,
I sent it this morning, I thought that you might have had a
No,
chance.
I did not.
So again, I guess, I just wanna know, what is it that Lindsay brings to this position, that it means another person at elections? In my opinion, I just listed off 10 towns
Mhm.
that combine those activities because of the overlapping and, in my,
And being clerk, you're automatically already a deputy registrar,
okay,
but you have to have a registrar in place. I mean, it's worked well with two people with us before elections is a very, very busy time.
well,
And to have another person, and what's that?
I understood that there were things that hadn't been, I mean, obviously the state's concerned if they appointed her.
I still have to find out about that.
that was unsolicited by me. I was in conversation and he said, we need a registrar, let's.
And the registrar is appointed by the board. It's a
The
board.
thing is, Sandy, you knew this, at the town meeting on September 28th.
I did.
I've spoken to you numerous times about it. The state is crawling, is really concerned about all these deadlines that haven't been met. And they
We've had a
asked
lot
me
of
to step
deadlines that
out.
haven't been met.
Judy,
All I'm saying is that they've asked me to step out, and so I did.
Judy, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, so we've been in this position before, and I understand where you're coming from, because the state is ultimately gonna reach out to you and say, okay, clerk of the forks, who's your registrar? And they're gonna ask you to assume those duties until somebody is appointed and they're notified. That's what they've always
That's what
done.
they
And
did, yeah.
we have always had a separate clerk and registrar to basically, number one, satisfy the state's requirements that they have, two people logging in, one people managing the voter list, the other person overseeing it, to establish, credibility with the whole election process.
It's not
In the past, we've had people step out of positions very close to election time, and the clerk has assumed the registrar's responsibilities. We've had situations where the clerk has had to, step away from their duties and appointed the registrar as clerk. They've been verbal agreements, and the board has been notified that they've made these agreements. And the reason why the state is reaching out to you is because they are very time-sensitive things that have to be done for election. However, the process, and again, we've raised both salaries every year, if you look back through, however many decades of warrants, we've always carried those salary lines, because we've had two people involved. So, and again, you know, it's always been an appointed position, however, what has happened with the clerk and the registrar is amongst themselves, they have shared responsibilities and communications regarding elections, because it's, you know, you have to work as a group, you have to work as a team, because of the segregation of duties, which is very important. I don't know if that helps, but.
Well, it seems that, the Secretary of State and the Board of Elections would have, if there is a state requirement to separate those two, I'm pretty sure I would have been the first to know.
There's no
on-
requirement to separate on the state level. It's something that the plantation has done, you know, it's present in a lot of different towns. In larger towns, their segue to that is they have a lot of deputy everything under the clerk, and the registrar of voters is under the clerk, but basically, they're not carrying out that role, they appoint somebody to do that.
Okay.
So again, just remember, we're raising two salary lines in the warrant. However, the clerk and the registrar historically have worked together on election material. The reason why the state is reaching out to you is because they're looking at their checklist and saying, okay, the Forex and so on and so forth hasn't submitted all of this, so we don't have any way of knowing that, because they only, as you know, they send those communications to you as clerk, and when there is an appointed person in that position for registrar, they'll get them too.
They're actually sending it to Sandy, cause she has the only email in this town, and then she sends it to me, so I have gotten inundated with emails from the past 2 months,
But
and I'm trying to catch up on.
But you've been in the town email account to check the correspondence, right?
Yes, I have, but most of the time, when you're in the office, you're forwarding them, I can show you on my.
Oh, I'm just trying
Just trying
to
to give you.
shed
all the
some light
information.
on.
Right,
Denise had her hand up first, Charlie.
Yeah, I was, so, I'm a little confused, did the Secretary of State appoint you, because we only have 3 weeks to go before a vote, and did he give you the CBR account?
yes.
he opened that with you?
Yes,
He did that with you?
yes, I'm signed up.
You're signed up to be the voter registrar, because the Secretary of State
Asked me
has
to.
trumped this
Yes,
and asked you to do it?
he asked me to do it.
Okay.
To me, that just seems off as far as what, like, the town is supposed to talk about this and have a board of assessors. do
So he's
that.
3 weeks
If you-
behind,
if
and
you
the
can-
CBR is a
If
big
you
issue.
can go in by yourself and do these without us, that just, I mean, it just seems backwards to me.
Hmm.
I can see them stepping in because of time constraints
But,
and
you
giving
know,
her,
we've had a lot of
get
time
going. We've had a lot of time
restraints
constraints, and
things
and
that
the
need to
state's been
happen.
very concerned about a lot of
But
that.
we have two people that are willing to do it, as a board, we still have the ability.
Absolutely, and
to
it
do
makes
that.
sense, honestly, for this voter registrar and the clerk, because the voter registrar position is very important. I'm not done, thank you. It's a very important job, but it's not quite as, entailed as the clerk position, which is more spread out throughout the year. And it could be a few days when all the voting stuff comes in through the mail, through the back door, and setting up, but that's just a limited amount of time that they would be busy, a little busier than usual.
And I believe Denise, you served as voter registrar in the Forks, right?
I can't hear you.
Denise, did you serve as voter registrar
I
in the
did.
Forks?
I enjoyed it.
And so did I. That was the first position that I held here in the fort, so I have experience with CBR.
And,
This is my concern with all this, and it's not personal towards Lindsay. I don't know the girl. She was here at town meeting and I believe at one of the, budget meetings. Other than that, I have not seen her involved or engaged in any town activities since I can remember. So it just seems curious to me that we just pluck somebody who doesn't have an intimate knowledge of the town or the town politics or activities and just put them into a position.
Lindsay's definitely expressed to me, how she has interest in
Why isn't she here?
getting,
She's out of-
maybe she
Why
has
don't,
a
why don't
personal-
these younger people show up to these meetings if they're so concerned about this town? Where are they?
No, I mean, that's,
I want
I'm
to
just saying that
question.
she has
Good question,
talked to
Gordon.
me,
Where the hell are
she's
they?
expressed interest in
recording, just a
I
minute.
ain't been told to be quiet, and I'm sorry, but I can't anymore. This is my town too, Sandra, okay?
Fine,
I thought you guys didn't care.
yeah.
Oh, you weren't farming.
Okay, let's clear the air here. Lindsay is very concerned about the trends in this town, and she wants to become involved.
No, that's what it is.
And she has spoken up to us on several occasions. Anything I can do to help, please, let me step in. She's already got on the school board, and that first meeting is this week. She's very excited about it. She was called out of town. She didn't realize our meeting was tonight. She could not be here. She sends her apologies.
Okay.
But she is concerned. It doesn't matter if she's been here 1 day or 2 weeks or 10 years.
I
She
understand that.
wants to become involved.
Was she at the meeting, our last emergency or special assessors meeting?
No.
I don't remember that she was
She was
here.
at town meeting.
I know she was at town meeting.
I mean, I personally believe in Lindsay as being a good person to help out. She's a very level-headed person that doesn't I don't see it being anything being an issue with her at all. And I can say that because I do know her. And, it's not, she hasn't put any, this just seems weird to me that you could appoint yourself to the position before.
She didn't.
She
I
did
said
not.
she didn't appoint herself. The
The
Secretary of
state
State
reached out to
did
her.
it. He called her and
There
said,
are elections,
And
do
they
you want me to
appointed
show
her.
you
She
all
did
the
not ask for it.
deadlines that we have fallen behind? And so that's the reason that they called me and they asked me. I did nothing more than agree to what the Secretary of State asked me to do.
Well, you
And
shouldn't
I'm
come to the board
elected.
with that.
I mean, I just.
I was at home,
She's the elected clerk.
Secretary of State supersedes the board.
Absolutely.
I was on the computer, he was showing me things, telling me what I needed to do, and he said, if you have time, can we get into CVR? And I gotta, it wasn't something that I tried to do. I didn't reach out,
Right.
I didn't try to do this.
I mean, as far as my thoughts were, this was on the thing, it's like what we were gonna talk about tonight, and it's already been done. It's like, that's what we bring to the table.
It
You
could have,
like-
should have been done at the last meeting, but
but-
it never,
but
it
it's
hasn't been
supposed to be
addressed, and the
talked
only
about
reason
right
why it's
now.
here is because I came yesterday and I told.
No, I've been
Sandra-
working on this, trying to talk with her and get her attention.
Okay,
She's
Why
very
didn't they
busy.
call you then?
Pardon me?
Why didn't they call you instead of her?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Me either.
Probably because she's the newly appointed clerk.
Can I say
And
something
newly elected.
about the new generation coming in? There is nothing more than I would like to see a lot of these young people come in and step up and get involved. Where are they? If they don't show up, they don't count to me. They need to show up, they need to be here, they need to be knowledgeable, they need to inform themselves, and they need to be involved. And I haven't seen any of that except for 2 meetings when they were rallied up to vote against me, period.
Can I just add something?
I'd love to see them here. I don't know where they
I
are.
think the only rallying that's been done is from you.
Let's
I didn't
be,
hear you,
oh,
Chris.
I think
listen,
the only
listen,
Sharon
we're
has the
taking
floor. Sharon
control
has
of
the
this
floor.
meeting,
I can't
Sandy,
hear
take
you.
control of the
Yeah,
meeting.
Sharon has the floor, hold on. Thank you.
My question is, Lindsay is not here, so you need to now go and appoint her, and she needs to accept. The elections are 3 weeks from now. Has she got time to learn about the CVR and all of the other stuff?
She's ready
And
to
get
go.
that all,
Yeah.
she's ready to go, but that doesn't tell me. First of all, you need to contact the Secretary of State and tell them that you're removing the one that they appointed. That would be the first
I
step.
called them today and said that she hadn't been appointed by the board.
And what did they say? We
And
need
they
to
said
hear
that-
all of this.
They said that I need to get back to them when the board appoints. They said that we're having a meeting tonight.
therefore they call.
Why wasn't she at this, why wasn't this addressed at the special assessors meeting that we just went to? We just had a special assessors meeting recently. That wasn't on the agenda.
So we're trying to get it done tonight.
Well, all of us are just trying to have some clarity in what is happening and what is going on.
I think Lindsay will bring a very diverse opinion to the town.
But she doesn't have any experience and we're 3 weeks away from voting.
And I do, I
But
have,
Please tell me.
The Secretary of State's office, as they've done with Susan, will sit down and walk the necessary officials through whatever they have to do.
Is she available to do that? I mean, she's not here even to speak for
I
herself.
already have CVR experience. I was, the very first position I held in this town was as voter registrar. I already have the experience necessary. I can't imagine why the board would vote differently. I'm flabbergasted.
I mean, I'm just concerned about to me, it just seems like something that we should just, as a board, talk about, like say, these two people are interested.
That's absolutely,
And
I'm
instead it was
grateful
brought to the
that,
table
of
as
course.
this person interested,
That's
and then this
right.
person put this
That's
letter in,
absolutely
and
right,
already.
Chris, I
Let's
totally
continue.
agree with you. But it hasn't been done, we've had all kinds of time since town meeting to appoint a registrar, and it has not been done. And now we find ourselves 3 weeks from elections.
But we have people that are interested, and we have like two people to choose from. It is more or less a simple position.
One
that
of
people
them has
can
already
have,
been chosen by the Secretary of State.
which is crazy to me.
Well, the Secretary of State certainly must have,
All right, let's stop discussion.
this is crazy.
I make a
This
motion
doesn't
to
help our
appoint
whole
Lindsay Weiser
situation.
as voter rep.
We need to go forward.
Yeah, and
We need to
this
go
is not going forward, like
Of
this whole
course it is.
presentation and the way that this is not.
All right, I made a
Trying to go
motion to
forward.
appoint Lindsay Weiser as voter rep. Do I have a second?
I mean, I personally think that she'd be a good person for the job. I had no clue until this letter and this today that you were interested in this position. But I did hear that Lindsay was there before, and this is all
Well, she spoke
New
to
Well,
League
it's
right now.
unfortunate that
She spoke
that
to
the first
Sandy.
assessor didn't share that, because the night of the town meeting, I very pleasantly said, Sandy, I would be happy to serve also as the voter registrar.
When I just said it was an appointed position and we were gonna be looking at.
Yep. But then we're how far away? 2 weeks away from the town meeting. I've again asked you on numerous occasions to come up with somebody. That wasn't done. The Secretary of State came to me, and in my opinion, I feel like it is discrimination, that you would somehow find a reason, and I don't know what that reason is, why you would not. I mean, again, the Secretary of State, they contacted me because we are 3 weeks away. We are behind in several mailings and several deadlines that need to be attended to.
I'm aware of that.
That is why they asked for me to step up. And why is that a wrong thing, Chris? You would have done the same thing. If somebody asked you to step up to a position, you would say, yeah, this is what I care about and what I want to do.
I just thought that everything was an appointed thing, that the
It is
board talks
appointed.
about it, but not like
Yes.
appointed by the
But it
Secretary
doesn't
of
sound like,
State.
what this does not sound to me, this is my thoughts, it doesn't sound like a discussion, it sounds like an overruling, and there's no good reason, there's no logical reason that you have given to me thus far, aside from the fact that you don't like the fact that, the Secretary of State came to me and asked me to do this. I understand that feels like a breach of
I mean, didn't you say
power.
somewhere that if you don't get it, that you're gonna seek out
Legal.
legal advice?
Advice,
You
sure.
know, on this, I mean, to me, that's
Mm-hmm.
like, I mean, we haven't even talked about the position and you're talking about that, that's scary.
It's scary to me too, being
Yeah.
discriminated against.
I am not discriminating against you, I can promise you that.
Okay, then what is your reason why you would not
I'm just
choose-
more, I mean, I heard Lindsay wants to do it, I'm like, that's great, she's young, and now I just heard you wanna do it, and I see this letter, and I'm like, to me, that just puts out
Okay,
red
no, I'm
flags.
pretty sure that your mind, okay.
Okay.
Didn't I hear a motion?
I made a motion that we appoint Lindsay
I second.
Okay. All in favor? Two. All opposed? I will contact her. I will contact
I really think that if things were more open and like this, it would be like a lot easier to communicate with each
We
other.
are in a
This was a done
dictatorship
deal
right
before we
now.
even walked
We
in.
are in a dictatorship,
Mm.
that's
I
what's
don't
happening.
think, no.
Yes, we
no,
are.
I definitely don't think so.
Okay. On to better things. Treasurer's report, Mr. Evan. Thank you.
Okay, so, what I've handed out to the board is, kind of a working document that I've been using to keep tabs on, our checking balance, and, but I wanna take a step back real quick and let everybody know that, we've been working through, past due, accounts payable and payroll, we're getting caught up. We've just done, the trio training the last couple of days, and, that's actually gone very well because, I've had some phone time with trio and Judith has helped tremendously too, just getting payments processed and things like that. And the last couple of days of training was really nice, so I do appreciate, the town allowing me to be trained by trio. That was good. Anyway, so with this document, it's kind of keeping tabs on where we're at. At the top, the board can see, you know, and by the way, I know this isn't the treasurer's report that you're used to seeing, and I will begin using that once the dust settles and I can balance the, you know, checkbook and things. I will start using the proper report, but for now, I've got this document. And basically what it's showing us is, kind of the checking balance from the warrants that we've processed and into the, lower section is kind of, things that are yet to happen, the shaded areas. So we're still in a healthy spot, as you can see. But if we wanna start paying the August, September, and October outstanding payables, you know, we need to make some decisions on how we're gonna get there without the tax revenue coming in. And meaning, are we gonna transfer money from another fund or what?
Right.
So that's something that we do need to discuss, and how, you know, what that would look like. But, you know, right now, we're still in a safe, good spot, so we haven't written checks over what we
Yeah.
can deal with.
Catching up.
We
Right,
haven't gone any red yet.
no, not close.
So just to make it clear, you're all paid through, the end of July on the payables, right? We haven't done August.
Yes, so we are up through July 31st on most payables and getting caught up on, taxes and getting caught up on, we're caught up on payroll and things. Yes,
So you talked about transferring funds, is that outside of the 100,000 we approved?
no, it's not outside of
Okay,
that.
that's all.
No,
No, we haven't done that yet,
Oh, I see.
and, it's,
it'll be taken care of.
in order to process the outstanding, payables, the August, September, and October, we're gonna need to really discuss when that transfer takes place, because I'm gonna have a hard time releasing payments for those payables until we have a healthy check, balance.
Right.
So, you know, at some point in the near future, we do need to have that discussion, in the next few weeks, or tonight, if that's something that, unless that's already been approved, and then we can just make it happen, and
That's-
discuss what fund it comes out of.
That would bring us to the special town meeting to finish the budget.
Right, okay.
Which we need
Right.
to do.
That would be, I think, require a vote right from the citizens.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Citizens.
Right, no, absolutely, right.
Right now, you can go through August, 32, 18, 24, 17, which will still leave 33.
Yeah, so, I mean, I
But
could,
You can't do September.
No,
right, so I mean, I can, okay, so you can see in the, shaded area, the subtotal before those, you know, we're still over 40,000, and then the August outstanding payables are under 10,000, so I could reasonably pay those just when we get to the September, we really need to start thinking about making that transfer in order to cover us until the tax revenue comes in.
Right. Well, I'd like to make a motion that we pay the August outstanding payables for now.
A second.
You should mention your comment on payroll tax.
Right, I guess, Judith made a good point. So we are caught up with our payroll tax payments with, that's warrant 13 at the top.
Right.
At the bottom of the top row there, warrant 13. So we are getting things caught up. You know, and the tax payments were made a priority.
Right. And we call it-
The August includes all tax payments and everything
Right,
So the quarterlies
in
for
November.
third quarter again, everything's done for third quarter.
Right.
So coming up, he's gonna have fourth quarter in December, but he's all set, he's created his logins for federal and state, he's done all of that.
Ready to go.
And we've gone over, we reached out to Todd Greeley,
Yes.
who we're gonna review with to make sure there's nothing, because you know how the IRS is 6 months behind with everything. So we're just gonna overview that for good measure.
Yeah.
Make sure there's nothing dangling.
Yeah, he called back and said that he would be available for questions. So that's,
So, again, county tax. Okay, so without your tax revenue, if you transfer, if the transfer is approved for the $100,000, it's gonna leave 2,800 in closure account for the municipality. And basically give you 100,000, so out of that, you're gonna have like 91,000 available, plus your October bills and payroll. So you're gonna be able to pay what you can towards county tax, and when tax revenues come in, pay the
pick it up.
balance.
right, so the
So that's
county,
gonna carry you, that's gonna carry the town, so we don't create more outstanding accounts.
Right.
right.
Yeah. Which we,
So Evan, you can,
So the county tax is the biggest looming payment that's coming up in the future.
outside of his,
But yeah, it's bigger than, it dwarfs even August, September, and October combined.
we're digging ourselves out of a hole.
So we just have to be prepared for that, you know, normally, when we would have, you know, the tax revenue already coming in now, so it wouldn't be something we'd have on the table to even talk about, are we gonna be able to make that payment? But because of the delay, from the budget delay being
the tax
approved,
commitment,
Yeah.
basically.
it's just one of those things that we have to make sure that we have the funds sitting there available for these tax payments and stuff.
Just so folks know, the latest thinking is that, if this is approved by the voters in the special town meeting, that the $100,000 is probably best to come out of the, closure account. This has been a very static account, for a long time. I've checked with DEP, they give me an update on what would have to happen for them to ever get concerned about that, landfill again. And it really means a drilled well that's being used for water within 1,000 feet. And my feeling is that the likelihood of somebody putting in a housing development or a home within 1,000 feet of that landfill and drilling a well is pretty remote. And so I feel like it's probably the safest, right now, account. I think everybody agrees to borrow the money.
21,000, right?
What's that?
The 21,000?
No, no,
It's
it's
a
the
municipal
towns.
closure account.
It's the
first
closure
year.
account, not the, there's two different,
For this,
not the landfill, it's different.
Okay, I was thinking,
It's confusing, but it's different.
oh, okay.
That's
So this was
150,000
basically-
Municipal closure account.
Oh,
The way that-
municipal
It's the
closure.
account that the town voted to put money into.
The way this was
Oh.
explained to me,
So how much is in that account?
102,000.
Okay.
the way this was explained to me, and it makes sense, was when the transfer station, the landfill was first closed, none of the towns knew what the cost was going to be over a period of time, so they stockpiled money, you know,
Yes,
and.
Well,
and-
no, we raised a
raise the
certain.
money, but I'm saying in anticipation, and it would appear as though the ongoing costs, have diminished.
Disappeared.
But we're prepared for them, and so it would seem, again, to be the safest place probably, to, you know, quote, borrow the money.
But the most important detail here is now the landfill is officially closed.
Okay.
Yes.
So the services at the landfill now are just primarily testing the wells, and that's not even happening.
That's not even
right, Charlie?
happening, they're done,
Hasn't had,
they're done.
That makes total sense.
yes, go ahead.
Sandy, at one meeting, you were going to take the money supposedly out of the road account, so you're not gonna do that anymore, right?
Right.
So it's not
Okay.
long range.
Yeah, we thought this was probably more appropriate.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Sounds good to me.
But that account also has parameters, so we couldn't really use that account for anything because it was earmarked and raised for specific funds to be set
Okay.
aside
Yep.
in that account. It's closed, so at
Oh,
this
so
point,
that
that,
frees
that,
that up.
that money can come back into the town, but it has to be, because it was moved to be created by the voters, it has to be moved to be
Okay,
expended by
okay.
the voters.
Right.
Okay.
Like the
You have
bus.
to,
Right.
that's why it's gonna be on the warrant.
Yeah.
So is, once tax revenues come in, is that money going back into that account?
We can
Well, that's a
consider that.
discussion,
We can
because it's a
consider
closure account, I'm not really sure how that would work, so.
Right.
I think
I
the
think-
thought was we might use it to offset taxes, was that some sort of a thought as opposed to paying it back? I don't know. It's
Yeah.
not my-
There'll be some options as we go.
Right, if you're not gonna pay it back, then the verbiage in the warrant line should be to move the money from Fund A to Fund B to offset taxes.
Yeah.
And
And then at least
Well,
people
I'm
know
not
where
sure
it's
we wanna
going to
do
go.
that, I'm just
We
saying that
need
was
that clarity.
Yeah.
that's,
an idea that came out, you know, when do we pay it back? I
I
don't.
mean, it sounds like
So,
that's like the,
if you,
makes the most sense,
and keep in
What's that,
mind,
Chris?
to take it out of the
Closure account.
closure account,
Yeah.
you know.
What about paying it back? Do you think we should
I
pay
would
it
think
back?
we should offset taxes with it.
But that needs to be in the warrant, apparently.
Yeah, which
That's
is
good,
And-
that's
and
nice.
To me, that would be
Everyone knows
appropriate.
what they're
I
voting
feel
for,
really
where
comfortable.
it's
If there's
going,
no real
exactly.
grounders and we're safe there.
Yeah, I've got
that's-
the documentation, I talked to DEP, the guys, everything, I feel very confident.
Good.
That would be the one thing, somebody puts a house with a well within 1,000 feet.
It didn't happen.
You know, It's not what I'd consider prime real estate
Yes, sir.
development area.
so, and Charlie and Sandy, you have primary knowledge of this, so I just wanna throw out that there's been discussion at the CFWF level with that closure account that the Forks Plantation also contributed to, of removing the money from that account and giving it back to the municipality. So, something to, I think about is, would you put it back into that closure account to add to the 2,800 still remaining as a balance, or what would you do?
That might not be a bad idea. That's already been approved, as far as I know, that by the board, that money that's in the CFWF closure account is coming back to the town, and it's in the neighborhood of
21,000.
something
There's
like
a
that.
form we have to fill out, I was gonna bring that up tonight under old business, to see if they wanted me to fill out that form to get the money.
Okay.
So
But
when
it's
you're
not a
preparing
decision I
your
would
warrant
make.
for special town meeting, you may want to include that warrant, a line for that money, cause that was, again, publicly moved money,
Right,
right? So you're gonna need direction from your voters to move it wherever you want
right,
it to
whether
go.
we're gonna use it to offset taxes or
Right.
repay that account.
So there's it's a two-part article there.
Sounds,
I was gonna bring that up under old business.
Okay, well, if there's no more questions for me, then I'm all set with that report.
So I have a motion to
So Evan,
pay the 8,218.50, and it's been seconded. We haven't voted on the motion to pay the 8,218.50, Charlie. I made the motion and Chris seconded it. All in favor? All three in favor? Three in favor, thank you.
on the August outstanding AP warrant.
Okay,
Payroll's been paid, it's now been in the AP.
okay.
That's like the light bill and stuff,
Yeah, they'll keep the lights on.
That'd be nice.
the old light bill.
Right. Awesome, well, thank you, Charlie, thank you, Dr. Chris, and we'll take care of that.
Yes,
Um,
I forget something.
Just that we received, your tree growth deposits.
Oh, yes.
That was a big thing.
Yeah, so, something I did point out, in the middle of this checkbook balance true up, I have a couple of October revenue items. The largest one being the tree growth of 21,277.98, so that was a nice boost to our checking balance, so we could keep paying bills before we make that transfer. That actually helped a lot. then we have other deposits going in. We have a dividend check and, which will be going in tomorrow, and then some deposits from Judith. Will give us another $10,000.
Awesome.
Yeah, so, I didn't go over that part very well.
No,
So available to write from is, they should have that.
After tomorrow, well, tonight, the available
As of-
right from is 30,000, after tomorrow, it's gonna be 40,748.
Right, because there are deposits in transit, so
Yeah.
we have the money here in the building, it just needs to go from point A to point B,
It's
so
already
it's in
deposited.
transit. So after that, you'd be looking at 40,748
Oh, wait.
that you can write from.
Which is safe to do the August outstanding of 8,000 from the 40, that still leaves us,
But you'll also be able to move forward and pay your October payroll.
yes.
But, so
Recession.
September outstanding is very, it's big because you've got a couple of big things in there.
Yes,
So that's gonna have to wait for that transfer. You've got LUPC,
right,
which is 11 grand, and then you've got, I think, fourth quarter ambulance. I think you've got CFWF, or was that KPY?
you know, I might be able to tell you that right now.
Because when we did the spreadsheet, really, it fell into later, but
So,
if
yeah.
you back that out and pay it after the transfer, then
So you're asking about September, what's in September?
your September is, you know, it's 31,456, so.
LUPC is a
yeah.
big one, UKVAS is a big one.
Yeah.
ME Revenue Services, and
Yeah,
then,
That's
WF,
11,000, 5,000, 5,000,
yeah, almost
or
six,
6,000.
and
Yeah.
then WFVD, wow,
West Forks Volunteer Fire Department.
right, that's 6,500,
That's
so
half of
it's a
theirs.
big month.
Yeah, so those are all the valuation-based, things that we vote on have been passed at town meeting.
Right,
So, again, without the tax revenue, those are typically things that are paid in July,
okay,
so.
yeah.
cool.
We're getting there.
So we have our direction.
Yeah,
And I will say Evan has done a fabulous job, he's I mean, he's generating his own warrants for payroll and payables, he has adapted the internal control process, he's been leaving, he knows the deposit sequence, he's been doing everything, it's refreshing, he's done a wonderful job.
well, thank you, I'm doing my best.
Well, thank you for all your help,
Thank
Judith,
you.
and helping him.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, Judith has been a tremendous help.
But you've been doing a great job, Evan,
Thank
you've been doing a great job, your dedication and your, level of integrity is to be commended.
Thank you.
I second that.
Thank you,
Awesome.
thank you.
But again, he's ready to go. He can walk in there and do his thing. He doesn't have to have help, he doesn't, he's got his help sheet, he's got notes, things that, we know with Joe and from Trio and stuff, but he's good to go.
So he did have 2 days with Joe,
Yeah, it was great.
and, after the 2 days, we did like a little mini sit-down and went over some things, and, the consensus was that have Joe back for another day, after things settle in a little bit, to finalize some reconciliation and things like that, would help. I don't know, it would be probably within 30 days, but it'd be another day, I think. Just so you are aware of where he's at with everything, I think he would benefit greatly from that.
Well, and that, it specifically, the goal of getting the new audit back from a financial perspective is to be able to reconcile my bank statements every month.
Absolutely.
And when I can do that, it will, make things a lot, easier to report.
Absolutely.
And,
You do.
and so we're anxiously awaiting that, but I will need Trio help when the auditors are finished, because they will probably bring our account up to
That's right.
speed, and I'll just need Joe to kinda help me
That's right.
make sure I understand how it's,
Integrate all of that.
how it's all
What you've already
integrated,
done.
and, you know, where do I go from here?
Well, and, part of that also is the fact that the way the chart of accounts is set up now is gonna change.
Right,
That's right, and it needs to, yes.
well, we're gonna have a more, what I'm understanding is we're gonna have a more streamlined chart of accounts. I don't know what it's gonna look like, but I'll roll with it, so, you know.
F12, Evan.
Yeah, yes, yes.
It's too deep, I mean, there's things that have been added to Trio because people have not used existing accounts that have been set up on revenue or expense lines because of whatever reason.
Right.
So, you know, the delusion of that has lent to inconsistencies on numerous levels. Some of those Evan and I have looked at. But when this ultimately, and this is for the board, if you want to pay attention to this, when the auditors come back in, ultimately, your chart of accounts should match your warrant.
Yes,
So when you have your admin costs and all your salaries and your implementation charges and all your charges, but then you're gonna have West Forks Fire Department, CFW, if you're gonna have Parker, you're gonna have appraisals, and you're gonna be going through that warrant. If you're raising money outside of implementation charges for anything, it needs to stand alone on its own account. So you can have a debit and you can have a credit. So it will show zero at the end of the year, or $21.12 that you're carrying over. But you have to be accountable for those balances you're gonna carry over.
They have to be obvious, not.
You have to know what you're carrying over.
It'll help us tremendously if we keep track of that stuff.
And it was kept track of,
Yeah.
but it's, the spreadsheet is page
Or-
long.
They do that at the ambulance where they have the percentages of every month, that you can see the percentage of that budget line that has been expended or not.
Right. Evan will be able to do that with them.
Yeah.
That is huge from
Should be able, when it's
oversight.
done, you should be able to.
Yes, that's the goal.
That's. Okay. Alright. I make a motion, we accept the treasurer's report.
For a second.
All in favor? We're all in favor. Thank you, Evan. Clerk update, Susan.
So, as previously stated, I've been trying to catch up with the many emails that I've received, both during my position and before. So, in trying to get caught up with all of the requirements from elections to try to make sure we are on task for this upcoming election. One of the things that I was unable to do on Saturday when I came in here, and then again on Monday when I came in here, is to try to get the express vote machine tested. And the reason is because the key seemed to have been missing. Evan sent me a photo of one that he found, or somebody found, but in any case, I have spoken to somebody in elections, and they are going to send another key, just so that we have an extra one, I guess, and just in case we weren't able to find that one. Again, that took place, that conversation yesterday, before I knew what was going on, as far as the key goes here. So I feel pretty, it was a little bit frantic going, trying to make sure I had all my, all the information that I was responsible for taking care of, but I feel much more in a position where, I'm prepared for the election. I presented Sandy last week with some classes that are required for newly elected officials. I believe that takes place on November 28th. I did speak with MMA on that. It is a video conference, and we are all required to take it. It's $55 per person. I asked MMA if we would be able to all be in a room and watch it together. And she said, well, yes, you can do that. You won't each get, credit for having taken that, that class all, if you're all
It'd be like
together.
one
So
person,
in other
'cause it's
words,
one
we have to
computer.
pay the,
Fees.
$55 per person
official.
in order to, and so it doesn't make sense that we do it together, we can do it at our leisure. But we do have to take it. And then I also gave her, Sandy, another, class that would maybe be beneficial for Evan to take. Any clerk ones are way out there. The common time for clerks to be voted in is in March, and so I expect in the springtime there may be, classes that are, maybe more suitable for, even Charlie as a new assessor, but certainly for me as a clerk, and maybe for Lindsay for the voter registrar, and I will, she'll probably have access to MMA too, so she can, make sure that she stays on top of anything that would be required, for her to do, her thing. The thing is that obviously it's gonna be, she's gonna hit the road runs basically. I also transcribed the minutes from our emergency assessors meeting on 10/5, which you'll be in the next article, reviewing. And then there were two that I transcribed that were meetings that took place before I was a clerk. Those took me 2.5 hours, and I am asking the board if I could be paid for those 2.5 hours. It was, one of them was during the meeting that Barbara resigned, and then the next one was that we had no clerk. It was a special assessors meeting dated 9/16. That is something for you to consider. I also have been, in regards to elections, trying to round out ballot clerks. So I have a few people in mind for that. And I have, so I guess, I think that that's all.
I think that if you done the work and transferred over from what, that you should be paid for those 3 hours, and that's the way I
It was only 2.5 hours. I think that's pretty,
Yeah. I mean, you're catching up, you're doing the clerk work, and she resigned, and you're catching up on things, like, to me, it seems pretty.
Yeah, I'm certainly trying.
Yeah.
So you'll see the minutes. I forwarded them to the presentation email.
Very detailed minutes, thank you.
Well, those are yours, and then,
I also did proofread, Leslie, she asked me, she put them on Google Docs, and we went back and forth with comments. She wanted to make sure that we had, that she had names correctly, posted in some of the, motions, and I had to,
Thank you.
go back and forth with her on that, but, as you guys know, I'm friends with Leslie, so we worked in, collaboration with that, and I think they are finished at this point.
I didn't include them on this list, cause I wasn't sure where I know we got
Okay.
the email, but I didn't know if anybody had been,
Right, it
and I
wouldn't,
appreciate you going over those.
yeah, it wouldn't be up to me to declare them
No,
to
but,
be finished, so Leslie will, if you want me to, I can ask her where she is with them. The last I left it, she had one of the motions was, done by 2 people that wasn't, correct, so. Anyway,
that's not bad out of all those, yes.
So I have a copy of the town meeting minutes, but they're not finalized?
Right.
Oh, okay.
They were, she had sent them in an email, and I hadn't distributed it to the board yet.
it may not be, I don't know.
Right.
Looks
I don't
like
mind
they're
calling.
complete, but you all have to, I think,
Right,
Yes,
I was gonna check with Leslie one more time to see if she was at a point where I could have everybody look at them.
yeah, yeah, like I said, the last I left it was, I think it was sometime over the weekend. I looked at them and she still has, a motion and a second by, it was one of those ones where we were trying to amend it and then, so she put the people in there who amended it, but then the amendment was retracted, so, the real motion was, it just needed to be corrected, and I provided the names, and I was able to watch the video and verify, you know, every input that I made, was, you know, was verified, so it wasn't just,
Right,
you know,
no,
I
I
made sure
appreciate
that it
that.
was correct.
I appreciate that, working with Irene, it's great that she offered to do those up.
Yes,
I
it was,
thought,
I mean, it's a lot of
considering
work, there's a lot of
her
information.
short
in that.
visit with us, but.
Anyway, that's all I have.
I mean, I make a motion that we pay her for a few hours and we, accept minutes of Article 4, all those meetings as read.
What's the rate of pay?
That was two different,
Good
I
question.
guess that's a good question.
Do you have anything in mind?
hours are you paying already?
$17.50 is the wage we're paying the landfill,
Oh, 1760 actually.
$17.60, there you go. Yeah.
I just remember that little.
It's an odd amount, right?
Well,
No?
whatever,
So-
that was what it is, right?
Yes, right.
That sounds reasonable, the 1760.
Yeah.
Me too. So, but say your motion again, because I
I
don't
make a
think,
motion, we pay $17.60 per hour for the extra few hours that she worked to catch up on the close reports.
How many hours?
2.5, she said 2.5,
2.5, yeah.
okay.
Was there a second?
Second.
Is that all you had in your motion, all in favor?
Yeah, I did two at once. I mean, I was just gonna say pass Article 4 as read,
We're not there.
not there.
Okay,
And then you have to accept my,
report,
report?
I make a motion, we accept Susan's report,
My second?
all in favor? Thank you, Susan, for your hard work.
What about the meeting minutes, accepting them? I mean, I haven't really read them all, and I really probably should.
Right,
I've read some of
At
them
least
before
you
I
have
accept them.
at least you have them all
I
together.
do have them all
Which
here,
is-
so, or on the email or internet.
Yeah, there was two of them on your
I have them
email,
all somewhere.
there was only two of them on your email,
So I'm just saying, I wanna review them, and I
and there's
Yeah, we
seven.
can
just
accept
should.
it later, for sure.
I
Yeah.
just should before I.
Of course.
But at least we have them all here, ready to go. I did notice a couple, and Susan, when you do the minutes, you should sign it at the end, respectfully submitted
Oh,
at the end, because
okay,
that tells the board who's doing the minutes.
okay, yeah.
And it goes on record when you put it on the wall.
And so I can
Yeah.
revise that for the next, do you want me to add that?
You can do whatever before we, but just, you know, when the ones that you do at the
Going
end, if you
forward,
don't mind.
right.
Yeah. And that just puts it on record who transcribed them.
Sure, yeah.
Has been a question in the past. So, yeah, thank you for your report, Susan. Let's go to Article 4, and pretty much, these are all the meetings that we need to approve, which, if we wanna table it till next time, we can. And-
I think Charlie wants to finish reading.
Yeah, I'd like
Yeah.
to peruse them, just.
Yeah, that's not, at least we know you have them in hand, that's the big thing.
I make a motion to table Article 4 till the next meeting.
Okay.
All of them are read through by everyone.
Yep. Anybody second?
I second.
Everything until.
All in favor? We're all in favor, just to make sure. Thank you. But that's progress though, at least we have them all together, and thank you for bringing us up to date, Susan. Make Moxie plow bid. just wanted to bring it into open discussion that Andy Webb had given us a proposal to plow the Lake Moxie Road for 3 years. And the county, got back to me last week. They were gonna sign the contract tomorrow with Andy, so they've agreed to participate. So we have to get the contract drawn up, and after a special town meeting, we will be signing that contract, so we have a contract, which is good. 3 years.
It's good.
And that's all I really had for that.
It's awesome.
I know.
To me, that's good news.
It is.
Any questions? No? We're good? That's just a really big okay, which is kind of cool. And no questions on Article 5, move on to Article 6, Moxie Dam. No. We agreed last month to do the drawdown November 5th, right?
Correct.
I can put that on the Lake Moxie site. Destiny.
Just a question, did you make a motion and,
What?
did you make a motion to accept the bid from
Andy
Andy?
Webb.
From
That
Andy?
was last meeting.
Oh, okay, but I didn't know that you accepted the bid at the last meeting.
We did, but the county had not.
It still has to go to the special town meeting, the
Yeah.
voters have to
Yeah.
Okay,
approve
I
it.
just didn't, you guys didn't like
But
vote
we
to-
can't just do it when,
Okay.
No, but we,
the
you know.
voters have to
Yeah.
weigh in on that one.
Oh, I'm just ready to get it plowing.
No, well,
Or
will.
invest in snowshoes.
All right.
It is in motion, and it seems like if the county's all
Okay.
for it, and we're all for it, we got somebody to plow this year,
Yeah.
so that's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
yes, Judy?
So on Article 6, Moxie Dam, I've had a few calls, questions, and I'm just, in a nutshell, people wanna know if you're gonna do a fast drawdown, or if you're just gonna open them up at a certain level on 11-1 and let it go slowly, the way level.
Be 11-5.
I mean, in the last 2 years I've done it, we've done a fast down.
I know it's depending on the temperatures.
Is it, I guess what would be the advantage of a slowdown compared to?
Well,
a
I
fast?
think people,
Just giving people time, or
well,
is it
a lot of people draw water for
Yeah.
through hunting season.
Yeah.
We've always, historically tried to keep the lake up a certain level so they could have that, draw it down slower, but it depends on the temperatures, and so obviously.
yeah, if it
you can't
starts
leave
getting cold and things start freezing and you lift it up type.
Yeah, you can't leave everything, at that level if it's gonna freeze, so I just, people
I'm
pulling.
okay with doing whatever if.
I just wanna know if you could, and if you don't want me to say anything, I am more than happy to.
Well, no, I wanna know,
Prefer to know you.
what's gonna make
You
the
can,
people on the
we
lake
appreciate
the
the feedback.
happiest, right? Cause that's like,
I'm sorry,
I mean, the people that live on the lake that are affected by it, and as long as it's not messing up any like waterway and fish thing or something like that, so we have to.
well, the other part of this is, of course, you've gotta let Jared know in Brookfield,
Mhm.
and so, that's,
I will notify him.
Sam,
Yes, Dave.
Sam Smith, not Jared anymore.
Is not
Okay.
Dick Jared?
I can send you his contact.
I mean, what do you think being on the lake as far as like your lake levels?
I
He's
like
still got
it.
his boat in.
I mean,
Yeah, it's coming up this week. I like what Judy just said, the slower drawdown for
yeah,
the people. It raises less havoc on the docks and that type of stuff, but
yeah.
for me, it doesn't affect me. I float everything in, so
Yeah,
some people
me
it
too.
does, and I understand. I've heard the same comment from other campers.
So, I mean, a slow drop.
so you can start slow, but basically if it starts to freeze, the problem
Yeah.
is that the spray backs out and
So what
and
would
so it gets in
be-
the tracks and
And then the
basically at
gate
that point
freezes
it
and you can't open
freezes.
it.
Yeah.
Because the concrete temperature is usually 10 degrees lower than the air temperature, so,
So
that's the
a
flux.
slow pull would be like, open up the third gate on the left all the way,
well, you just, 1 and
And
2,
you know what I mean? I mean,
Open up
'cause
1
that
and
one's-
2. If you open up 1 and 2, 9 inches, 10 inches, and then if the temperatures start at night going consistently into the low 30s, freezing and below, then you definitely wanna get 3 open, and then if it starts just remaining cold, lift them all out, so they don't freeze in.
Yeah. I mean, I'm making a few trips up there if I need to.
Yeah.
You know, we've done the big dump in the past just to circumvent having to do random, like
Yeah.
weekly, you know, have
Yeah.
somebody running there. But again, and in the past, it's also been, I mean, weather has been the deciding factor. And
I think
that's
like
what
it
you're
would
up
just be
against
like
now.
a few, it would just cause another trip there, as long as weather cooperated, it would just be, go there once, do it slow. Check
So you
it,
can't,
and then,
Right,
And
you
then
know,
yeah,
won't
that's
know
why to get
that
it
line
done.
at all.
and it's done.
That makes sense to me.
but you just don't wanna get caught with anything freezing, because if they freeze, and you try to open
you
it,
can't-
they break, which is why we had to replace that first gate
Yeah.
several
Back
days ago.
along.
Yep.
Awesome.
Question,
Yes,
Chris, is Jimmy Levitt still your assistant?
well,
I
I'm
just
pretty
want to know
sure
because
Jimmy
they're up
Lemon
there, you know.
has, I just heard today that his health has
Yeah.
changed a little bit.
Is he doing okay?
I don't think that he's
He's
going to be
home.
helping at all.
He's home? Oh, wow, okay.
Didn't he?
I mean, as far as the rest of the year goes, I would say that he's
Yeah,
done
I
more than
think-
his share to
Yeah,
help out with
okay.
everything, and there's.
I didn't know if he was home. I'm glad
he
he's
did
home.
come home,
Okay.
I
I
thought
think
he
he's staying with
told
his son,
us,
isn't he?
not yet, not yet.
I thought he told us that he was staying until the drawdown, and then he was leaving.
Anyway.
He was,
You-
he
You
was
gotta
in
have
hospital
to have
in
rain coming.
Angela.
Mhm.
Oh.
Did you have a
It was just,
yeah.
he went to Scout and he was.
And I'll send you Sam's, he's the new water resource.
Treat him, mistreat him.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, send it to me.
If
I'll
you
let
send
him-
it,
He's
but
home.
So you call,
usually I'm the one, but you can.
treat him, mistreat him.
But usually I know.
After you check the
Yeah.
insurance.
They said
I'd
that-
like to know when we're gonna
Maintain
drive
it.
down, I wanna know when that extra water is coming.
Makes sense.
Discharge
I'm just
because
gonna text him.
dehydrated.
Yeah, you
Whatever,
can
do that
text
too.
me.
They said that helps Scout even to Augusta.
Tomorrow I have it on my
That's
computer.
an ED.
He gets all the things.
You refuse care because it's hospital.
That's
I
an
can help,
ED.
I'm not an employee. but-
I saw Jim this morning and he was home.
I'll help him. I know Jim is.
Okay, moving along.
Is there a motion on Chris's
But I
report?
just wanted to deal with you,
I make
It's
the
just a-
motion.
We don't usually,
Okay, all right,
if I can.
usually there's no motion,
okay,
just
that's fine. I just
Sounds
the
wanted-
updates, everybody. Thank you, Chris, November 5th, I got it.
I mean, I've got some bids for, new docks and things like that too.
Oh, right.
I'll print off and stuff. It's not really a big rush, but I think, if we're gonna do this, then we can bring it to a vote, so we know that something we're going to be looking for a new dock. It'd be nice to get that thing out of the water
Yes.
this
Yeah.
fall.
Yeah. And the porta potty's gonna be picked up on August 31st, October 31st, not August, October 31st. And then we'll have to get the picnic tables into the garage.
Can we do that for a vote for our special town meeting, so we know if we're gonna be getting a new dock or not? Is that's something that has to be voted on? right?
It
People,
does,
right?
but, it probably wouldn't be appropriate, right?
No, it would be.
It would be, yeah, wait a minute.
Because if you're gonna do it next spring, it's gonna fall into your budget.
It would fall
Yeah.
into the same fiscal year, yeah.
That would be
And
appropriate.
remember, it doesn't come out of the general fund, it comes out of the long range dam account,
Yeah,
which is at 130.
right, so
Which,
depending
which
on.
I also have pictures of the dam that I took when the water was
Yeah,
down
you
too,
did.
so that I
Yeah,
can,
you do.
when I do,
That's a forward moving process.
that's why we have a long range dam, again, because there's definitely
And
a
what
lot of
we do now.
rebar showing
Well,
down
look at
there.
all this is gonna shift from putting money into the road account, to putting money into the dam account,
Right.
unless you can get a grant for it.
Mm. Yep.
Bring that forward, that'd be great.
Mhm. I can't think of anything else about the dam right now. Yep.
Article number 7, UKVAS update. The federal grant was finalized. Ian is gonna be, sending in a report on how he's gonna spend that money. And the new ambulance should be there in November. We don't have to wait as long as Jackman has been waiting over a year and a half for a new ambulance. We've got one that will be here in November, and one of the, old bodies is gonna be put on a new truck. So we're gonna have 2 new ambulances in service, which is really, really cool. The ambulance calls have been down the last couple of months, but we're at, forget the percentage, but we've collected like 120% of the revenues that we projected we would collect. We have moved money into a savings account, so we have a capital savings account now of 272,555. So, it's good news, nothing but good news at the ambulance. Gonna have a new roof on the base, new flooring inside, and 2 brand new ambulances. Kind of exciting. And if they do have an open house where they do have the ambulance on display, I will let everybody know. In case somebody might wanna go down and scope it out, cause it's really kinda cool. Hope I don't ever have to ride in one, but it'd be nice to know if we have one. So, no. Any questions about the ambulance?
No.
Make a motion to accept my report.
Yeah, make a motion to accept your report.
Right, I second it, all in favor for the report, oh my God. Okay. Article 8. CFWF. CFWF, the board to discuss a request from the West Forks attendants to be paid for the days no Forks attendant was on site at the landfill. I can read your letter, Denise, or whatever. Would you want me to read it, Charlie, or the letter?
Sure, if people wanna, yeah, I mean, I read it, but other people probably haven't.
I have not read it.
You have not read it? Here's one. Yeah, take that one. You can read it out loud. Today is Sunday, the 8th of October, and yet Gordon is still only attended at the landfill. This will be his 7th Sunday alone. I, Denise Haynes, have tallied 8 Thursdays alone to date at the landfill. I anticipate this Thursday will be my 9th, which was
It wasn't, Chris came.
Chris, he was here part of the day. I have kept record on the absentee personnel. We can bet that if the situation was reversed, the Forks had only 1 attendant, there would be compensation and payroll being paid. This morning, 10/8/23, Sandra Thompson drove in the landfill, opened her dumpsters and left Gordon there telling him she'd be back to close up. This is not attending the landfill. Christopher Mann, the Forks attendant, has been advised not to return to work until he's paid back due income from July. It's time to discuss compensation. Pay. Gordon and I would like this to be discussed and moved on at our next CFWF meeting, which is tomorrow night. While we understand this issue is unprecedented, it's a matter of what is right. No one works for nothing in America, and we are way beyond helping out. The Forks Plantation is open for business, and it's time to move forward and pay the attendants that did the work. Many taxpayers on both sides of the bridge have spoken of these same concerns. Time to pay up and move on. Should we openly consider and discuss this matter? Should it happen again in our future? Let's hope not. Respectfully, Gordon and Denise Haynes. There you go. And here we have the days that they said weren't covered by it, which I have to look at it, but, right.
How many of the days, you were up there some of those days too?
I was up there like, I don't remember how many days there were total, but I was there like 14 days. And then after September 1st, when I went back to school, and a lot of things going on with the town, I couldn't be present. I had to assume my first assessor's duty.
So these are the all of these are days that you were not there?
I'd have to look at the dates, I don't have my calendar here, but I can verify them.
I got one.
There were 14 days that you did work.
I have them all right here.
Yeah.
Right, I wrote them all down. As far as I'm concerned, Sandy, opening and closing the gate and saying I'll be back later and not showing up. We're nice people, all right? And we didn't mind this at first, a couple of days. Then it really got old. And all of you know how busy that place can be, especially on a Sunday. I am like swamped, like you read about,
Right.
okay? I am only here to be compensated for. I wrote everything down on these calendars, alone. And you showing up at 15 minutes after 8 and coming here at 3:45, closing up and leaving, take the half hour, I don't care.
I don't want the half hour, I could not be there because of my.
I understand that, right, but as far as I'm concerned, I don't understand why Chris Mann couldn't have been there to begin with. And to you, to step forward, the first time that you started paying yourself, you were the first one to get paid. And that's all right, I don't care. What about the rest of us? You know, I feel as if, I don't like being used. I'm a nice guy, she's a nice person. I just wanna be compensated, that's all. That's all we're asking for. And I have every date right here on this calendar. It's 14 days. 7 for her, and 7 for me. Okay? Cut and dry.
I just wanna get this clear, so you are getting paid by the West Forks also,
Yes, sir.
and you feel like you were doing
I was
the
doing double
job
duty.
of the
Yeah.
Forks, of what they would do?
You've been up there many times, you see me up there along with Chris.
I definitely see it, you know, and I was super glad to see that the
And I-
landfill, we could actually still not be burning our trash while this
Yeah,
whole
there's
thing
people
was
that said to
happening.
us, just don't talk to
Was-
people from the forks, and we're like, that's not who we are.
Well, to me, it was like, I was just glad to be able to go to the dump, and I know Sandy did that, and I know that there's other, the dump isn't just the Forks, it's
Yeah.
4 different entities. And, yeah, I mean, I think you should really think about when you were there and break it down, and break all this stuff down, so we can discuss this later. I mean, I really feel like it's,
We would really appreciate the consideration. And we were both on the payroll for the Forks, we were trained by the Forks, we've both been on the
But
payroll.
you're also two of the people that voted to shut the town down.
Oh, that,
Oh, no.
not me, Cory, that is,
What does that have to do with
That has
compensation?
nothing-
Why don't you shut up?
nothing to do with
That's
that.
not a good thing to say
No.
here.
Well,
It's
you
not.
know, it's a
It is
difficult
a business
situation.
here,
So
it
you
is a
want to
business.
discriminate against people?
Maybe we
that
think the
were-
town is shut down because you guys didn't do your job.
didn't
That's
have a
maybe why
town
the town
meeting.
got shut down.
You didn't have a
You
town
particularly.
meeting.
So you wanna go like that?
Yeah.
I've been open my mouth all night, I'm not gonna say.
I really think that you should think about the dates that you worked, write them down, the times when they worked, and we can relook at this.
I have.
Can I speak?
8:20.
Based on my understanding of the dates, I just got this calendar here tonight when you guys did. There are 3 dates that come to my attention that both parties claim that they were there.
Was they Sundays?
And that's a little bit of a problem for me, because either they were or they weren't. I mean, they were either both there, one party was there, or, you know, it doesn't jive, and that needs to be investigated.
That's why I think we should table it.
That needs to be looked at, that's all.
Yeah.
So are you asking, you're saying that this needs to be tabled?
I think it needs to be tabled until Sandy can write down the dates, if they're there, they already have their dates, and then we can relook at it and make sure nothing's crossing, and then, and then take consideration on what's
So
happening.
that's your.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you,
Thank
we
you.
appreciate it, she's been paid for the hours she was there, the first time the town opened. And we kept quiet about it because we don't know where to go, this has never happened before. So I appreciate your consideration very much.
Can I say, in all due respect, as stepping out of my other role as the manager, I guess, of the West Forks County part of the transfer station. I should have gotten on top of this as soon as, somebody from the Forks didn't show up and these guys weren't doing the work. I really should have approached the board and said, what are we gonna do about this? You know, the other members, including Sandy, Caratunk, West Forks and the county. And I feel like it was a lack of leadership on my part and understanding, and I should have gotten ahead of this, and they should not have had to wait to do this. I think the other board members knew, but again, it wasn't addressed formally, how we're gonna manage this. And, you know, Sandra has a say on that board as well. And so, knowing that it was going on, I feel, you know, again, that I kind of dropped the ball with that one, and I should have been more proactive. So,
We appreciate the
live and
board's
learn. I'm
consideration.
just one of the things, you know, I'm
And
new to a lot of this, and it's a learning curve.
And it is something we should probably look at, you know, because we can't get people up here. Gordon and I don't have anybody that will fill our place. You know, and it's, so we were there. And it's something we should consider what happens. And we would just appreciate it.
Judy?
Thank you.
Something to say?
You know, and again, things happen and as things evolve, I mean, there's always change, right? And just because this is what we've done in the past doesn't mean it's what we need to continue to do in the future. Maybe it's an opportunity for the CFW board to discuss that the CFW have employees and the payroll will be factored into the operating budget so that the employees, whether it's 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, one from each entity, you know, basically are paid through CFWF. I don't know how you pay your bills. I do, but I don't know. But maybe it would be blend to a position where, you know, we would have a group that would be employed by, well, not a specific employer, that would be more under the umbrella of the entity. And, you know, this is an unusual situation. Personally, myself, I was then a board member. My idea was open up and close down, and that's it. That's it. You know, there was no discussion. And again, maybe that discussion should have been had. You can't assume people are gonna assume more work just because they're there either. That's kind of not fair. And so again, but stepping out of our roles, right? Stepping out of our roles, and, because it's never happened before, it's a learning experience for everybody.
Thank you, Judy.
Spending the day with us.
I wanna thank all of you guys
Oh, I've worked
for
with you.
helping
I believe
make the
that.
dump happen,
Yeah.
because like, thank you guys for doing the extra work. Thank you for helping.
Well, I don't have a problem with that.
And Sandy, thank you for going when there was no one there. I mean, the trash that was a big thing, it was like, it's a big thing, that could have been a real mess. And
It doesn't wait.
So we have a motion on the table, do we have a second?
the motion is to table it till
Yes.
more information.
Yes. And the second?
All in favor?
Is there a
I
second?
didn't hear it the
Oh, I'm
second.
sorry. I seconded to table.
Okay.
I did, probably mumbled, I'm sorry.
Okay, and a vote?
All
All
in
in
favor?
favor to table. Yeah. So we can
And there will be
verify. it.
consideration. for sure.
Okay. Old business, I wanted to bring up the CFWF monies that the Forks Plantation has in the closure fund. There is a form that David Spencer has that I could fill out to, get those funds delivered back to the Forks Plantation to help offset taxes. I just wanted to bring it up at the board and see if you guys wanted me to do that, and if you will, I will
So
do
that,
it for tomorrow.
that needs to be done before we can pull money out of there,
Right,
so
we have to have the form, fill it out, we have to know what we're doing.
make a motion that you fill out the form, so we can release monies from.
Who has the form?
David Spencer?
David has it.
Yeah.
I second.
Yeah. All in favor? All right, we're all in favor? Yeah. So I'll get that hopefully before the meeting tomorrow night.
Yeah, it'd be nice to get that buttoned up, just so folks know for clarification, there are like two closure accounts, there's one of the
Yeah,
Forks,
one-
and then there's one, the entity
Municipality.
itself.
Right.
And what the Forks has asked for is the money that's in the closure account of the entity itself to go back to the Forks.
Right.
And everybody on the board, agreed with that, Linda and David, and I think Neil, I don't know if Neil may agree in or not, but I think everybody's fine, it's the Forks money.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and so it's reasonable that they would want it back.
Good.
With the understanding that if something came up again and all of
We
a
have to
sudden
come
the
up with
closure
it.
expenses,
Right.
you know, we're gonna have to deal with
We're
it.
gonna have to ante up.
Right, so,
So what do you think you're gonna do with that money? Are you gonna put it into the closure account for the municipality? So you'll have like money available if something comes up?
that would be
or-
my recommendation, so we have a little bit more of a cushion than 2,000, but that's just thinking, you know, we go. But again, like, on one hand, I say that because I'm conservative and I like to have a cushion. I see no event on the horizon that is gonna cause any monies having to be expended on anybody on the closure business. I think it's a
Correct, on
done
that
deal,
respect.
so, you
Just
know,
funny.
and I say, because I'm conservative, well, if we can have 20 grand cushion, why wouldn't we have that instead of 2? But given our overall situation, we may be better off to use that to offset taxes and just run with the 2 grand. And then if something comes up somewhere in the future, then we're gonna have to raise the money. at
Cause they're
that
not gonna
point.
come back, once they're done testing, they're done testing.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
They're not-
just,
they're
they're not
coming
gonna come back.
Again, unless somebody builds a house.
Well,
So-
or if somebody, the other thing is, if somebody files a complaint, if they see something, say something,
Right.
so that could happen too, but at that point, it would be, you know, that would fall under closure, so yeah, you would have to come up with those funds that you could raise it.
Yeah, you never know what people are gonna do, somebody might
We
walk
have to
around and
decide
decide
before we
it's a
vote.
pending superfund
Well, I
site.
think you need to give the voters some direction, because they have to, you would need to suggest where the money's gonna go, what you're gonna use it for, and the voters would have to move it.
Yeah.
So it would be article, will the voters, you know, accept X amount of dollars from the CFWF closure account,
Then we could
to
recommend.
be appropriated to the Forks Plantation closure account, or the general fund to offset taxes, however you're gonna,
Right,
or
Right.
you've gotta have those mechanisms
Okay.
to.
stated what we're gonna be
Right.
doing with it.
So the plan is to get the money and then include that in our special town report, meeting, which needs to happen.
So this is the same money that we were talking about under Evan's report?
Yes.
No,
No.
Under the,
That was a different.
CFW, oh, I don't know.
it's an additional amount.
There's a municipal closure account that the Forks Plantation has custody of, and there's a closure account, that's a group account under CFWF. That involves the Forks, West Forks, Carrollton, and the county.
Okay.
I guess I'm confused now, didn't we talk about,
The first one was the municipal one, I think.
Yeah,
The first one that we voted on was the
Two separate
municipal
organizations.
share.
okay, so I guess I was
and this
confused
21
on
is
that.
what's left of the money.
Of that same account, okay.
Right,
It's not-
we transferred to the dump, the town transferred to their closure account, and it's just been sitting there.
Yes.
21,000 sitting
One
there.
year. 80, but their
Is
Fork share is 20,
87,000,
something.
85 or 87,000.
But we're 1/4 of that.
Right,
We're
exactly, so
fourth
it's
belongs
20,
to the
20
Forks.
change.
All the entities equally
Carrollton.
contributed
Equally.
at the time.
Yeah.
So over time, they have accumulated interest, whatever, but so it's divided by 4. But what's happening now is they wanna move the money to like
To
a
offset taxes,
CD
they
Right.
have to.
or something.
Yeah,
And so the Forks is saying, you know, you guys.
we just as soon have the money back.
Right,
The other towns said no, they keep it there, so it's still gonna be a good cushion in there.
Yes.
If we
Okay.
need to raise money.
Yeah, county wants to keep theirs in there, West Forks does, and I think Carrollton did as well.
Okay, the special town meeting, is old business. Hopefully, we will be getting that done within the next couple of weeks. We were waiting on the plowing monies to be said. The BMV position that we tabled at special town meeting. I approached Moscow, and Janice Malloy is willing to be our appointed B&B agent. And that will be included on the special town meeting warrant. It's still gonna be an appointed position, but the salary line will be,
You're appointing Moscow to be your agent.
Basically, that's what we're doing. And we're going
Would
to
that be
reimburse them.
ATVs and everything? Would that be also ATVs,
No.
snowmobiles?
Still you, right? Isn't it?
That's you, just cars?
Just motor vehicle.
yeah,
Motor vehicles.
just the motor vehicle, so
Yeah.
that was good that she agreed to do.
So that agent fee is gonna go to her.
Right, the
So you're
agent
already
fees would go to
asking.
her, plus we'd pay her whatever the salary.
Yeah, she also wants to be paid, but we won't be paying our own B&B agent, so that money will go to.
Well, she is
her.
your B&B.
Right, so it's gonna be going to her as
Right,
opposed to
correct,
somebody
Right,
that works. here, I
Right.
guess.
right.
How long is that term for? Do you
Just
know?
till June 30th of next year,
Okay,
yeah. She agreed, for that term and then see what
so
happens.
it could be a yearly thing.
Yeah, it could be, or we could have somebody that might become interested in the position and, as
Yeah.
things settle down.
Right now, I
and
think
move
it's a really
forward.
good option.
There's a
for
lot of
everybody.
training involved.
And that's the consensus feedback I've gotten from people.
I know Jimmy said he had a whole bunch of vehicles and it was easy.
Chuck
Yeah.
too,
A
right?
week and
Yeah.
down to six.
Chuck said that they ain't better known
Nice.
like that.
That's
She's
the-
open 3 days a week for 8 hours. I mean,
It's easy.
you can't beat it.
Yeah.
There's no way you'll get anybody
You
to
don't
sit
need an
there.
appointment, you just
3
go
days a
and
week.
wait your turn.
I think we're doing an appointment.
No?
Yes, I do. I once it's
She
registered.
knows what day she's there, and
Right.
you just go
I've
in.
got
Unless you buy a new vehicle, you're all set.
Oh,
Yes, it's very nice.
I need to do one my trucks on
I know, yeah.
this month.
Just that number.
That's what I'm doing.
Oh, easy.
Pretty easy.
I know I do my trailers
Takes
and,
2 seconds.
yeah, I use it.
Yeah, so that's one area you're gonna wanna cover with her, is to make sure she's updating the rapid renewal file, because that's a manual process for a manual account. And if she's not updating the process, the expiration dates, when you go to re-register your vehicles next year, if it's not updated, you're not gonna have an active file, you won't be able to re-register.
okay.
So that's two things that have been satisfied for the special town meeting, the audits. The audit line, we're still waiting for information from Ron Smith. And the other one was the legal fees that, we tabled. We'll have a recommendation on that.
There's another article that got you.
Oh.
Right, there was some of the wording on the end, the ending on the last ones.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah,
I'm double checking to see if they were assessors or selectmen, I think.
it says selectmen and we have a board of assessors.
Actually, we do not assess.
Well, what do we call
So,
ourselves then?
That's right, I'm double checking.
All right. Rita?
To be perfectly honest with you, in my opinion, what a select persons is a better term, because
That's fine.
assessor implies that you're assessing
Mhm.
property.
Right.
And I think they used to
Just
back in,
needs
The
to-
question.
I think they used to back in the day, Sharon.
And MMA said we are select people, select
Good,
persons.
then everything these should be select persons meetings and not assessors
I
meetings.
think back in the
Yeah.
day, the assessors actually did do
the
property
assessing,
assessments.
right,
I think, in
right.
plantations,
I'm gonna do a
Historically,
find
did
and
they?
replace online.
Yes,
Like
yes,
50
that's
years ago,
right,
did the
that's
assessor
right.
for the town actually assess property?
The group would sit together and they would wade through,
It doesn't sound good.
So in that
the.
case,
I
it would work.
mean, and if you think, being an official is bad with no training, try that. So anyway, as far as that goes, no, you're a board of select people.
Isn't there a statute that says though in a plantation, that the select board are referred to as assessors? I thought I read that somewhere, I may be mistaken.
I remember having this conversation with somebody several years ago, I mean like 10 plus years ago, and I reached out to MMA. So, that's what we're select people, because we don't actively assess in the
But for
community.
10 years, we've been
outsource.
using
Yeah, no, I'm gonna look it up for next meeting, just because
I'm not in control
No,
of
I
the
know,
process,
I
or,
know. We just need to get. it
Personally,
clarified.
I prefer a select person.
Yeah,
It just rolls better.
So,
So-
do we have a expected time frame for when the warrant will be complete and when the meeting will take place?
I do not have a definite date, but I'm hoping within 2 weeks. I said that 2 weeks ago,
So the warrant or the meeting will be 2 weeks?
within 2 weeks, the
Let's-
meeting.
Meeting special town
The
meeting.
warrant has to
Okay,
be
so
up
the-
to 7 days before the special
Right.
town meeting anyway, so it takes a while.
Which, I need to get you a third draft here pretty quick, with some of the new information, yes.
I mean, the sooner we do it, the sooner we can make a tax commitment. and
That's
do
right.
everything.
So, my
That's
question
correct.
is,
Yeah,
for the board,
Mhm.
Evan, I don't know if you wanna be part of the process, you should be there, cause
I will
you're,
be,
you're committed to part of this as well.
yeah,
So the 5 of us need to sit down in a room
Mhm.
and talk about the tax commitment once we're through special
The
town
budget,
meeting.
Yeah,
And so this isn't a process that can be rushed. We've got some stuff to do in the system for the LD 290, valuation freeze. We have 4 applicants in the forks. We don't have a system that can accommodate that. I am very nervous about not having something electronically viable, to report to the state as far as those valuations being frozen. Because I have nothing in Trio in the access format that we're using that's gonna show that that has been established. So when I fill out the report and send it in, I've got no way to back it up with the data. So one of the things Joe and I talked about while he was here was that when he's gonna look, there's 7 towns in Maine that are affected by the same thing. So my suggestion was we take the four taxpayers, we put their valuations back to the 22 rates, we note the account, we pull or print the tax cards out of Trio, and we set those aside. Because we all know LD 290 is going away as of next year, and it's gonna be a straight exemption like the homestead, so it's not gonna matter. Their valuation is gonna go back up, and then they're gonna get a set exemption next year, but we have to be in I'm just worried about being in compliance with our reporting, not having that mechanism in the software. So until we can get an answer from Trio on what we're supposed to do, that's a hurdle. Our tree growth figures need to be, I have questions for Bob Gingras because some of his math doesn't add up. I did some spot checking, some sampling, and it's not, the factoring isn't coming out right, which is gonna throw off, our reimbursement, and I'm curious because we got a tree growth exemption, but, I don't know why we got it, because we haven't reported the new valuations with the 25% increase included.
Mm.
So I think moving forward, the Forks is gonna be looking for, the difference in the increase in the valuation. So
Well,
you
that
should-
check they sent us there a couple.
So in
weeks and a
addition
half
to the
ago.
21,000, you should be seeing, I think, $6,000 to $7,000 more because of the valuation increase.
we have them put it here.
So, and again, we can't because we haven't set the commitment. I can't send that in without that. So they have acreage, but they don't have any valuations from us because we haven't set that.
Mhm.
So, that being said, it's, I understand that we need the revenue to come in. So understand that this is a manual process when the tax bills go out. I need paper and I need ink.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a plan to get that in the building?
Ah,
we have a debit card.
yeah, we do, you're gonna activate that tomorrow. That was gonna go into new business supplies.
And Susan, do you need anything for supplies?
No, I
You're
don't.
set for elections,
I-
you don't need,
For elections, I've already contacted, the CC officials.
they're
So-
sending you whatever cause I know Leslie did the inventory.
No, she didn't.
Oh, she didn't do
No,
that?
she didn't get to it, so,
Oh.
she meant to, but it got late that night, and she wasn't
Oh,
able
okay.
to, so
But you're good,
I'm good.
you're,
I've
okay.
got the key coming to me for the express
Yeah.
vote. I do need to, there's some confusion on the supply list. It says 14-inch paper for that, and when I spoke to Jahan yesterday, they said that it was the 17-inch version, so I need to find out how many sheets. That's the only thing I'm missing in terms of,
Yeah, and I know historically when you have to test that.
no, I know, by
So you have
October
to-
20th.
Yeah, so you have to hook up that phone line we had specifically dedicated to that machine. Well, no, you don't know this, cause Rocky actually came down and dedicated that specific line over there for that machine.
Okay.
So that you won't have any issues with interference getting out of here, because we had a really big issue with that,
A phone line,
on that lot, that, right there on the wall
Jack
under
over
the
there.
map.
Okay.
So that's
it's
why
over.
that's there, it's for that machine.
I just want to, comment on the special town meeting in 2 weeks, sounds about at like Halloween-ish time. 1 more week is the election, so if we could not collide those two, events,
Yeah, cause
that
she's
would
gonna
be
be,
awesome.
oh, yeah.
she's gonna be here until late doing reporting.
And I'll have stuff up
and-
here with the voting,
Oh,
you
that's,
know, so,
that's a good goal, thank you.
yeah.
Try to get it done before that.
Definitely, we need to get it before.
Yeah, and I don't
or
wanna
I'm just saying
interfere.
that Tuesday is good, this is, and I
Yeah,
probably need a day to set up.
Yeah, and I don't wanna interfere because it's gonna take like 6 hours to get the commitment books done, print the bills, mail them out, okay, and that's done in the office, so I don't wanna be overlapping with the registrar and the clerk, having to do their reporting and
Yeah.
testing and all of that.
Bad.
So, you know, I mean, thinking this through, I've been telling people that bills will be going out in early November with a deadline or a due date by January 1. And then Pete got that notice today too as
Yes.
well, cause it had not been posted, and so I just posted it on the website and I CC'd you. I just really felt that it was important.
It is very
People
important,
need
we're
to
getting a
know.
lot of calls,
So,
supplies.
so paper and ink,
And so the 2 weeks sounds like that works,
Before, yeah.
2
Right,
2 weeks or
within.
before.
Within,
to-
yes.
To have the meeting, so
Yes.
warrant by the end of this week. I'm just saying, that works as far as the voting schedule goes.
Did she say paper and envelopes, you got all that?
no, I need paper and
Paper
ink,
and ink.
Ink for the,
I've got all four.
I have a list running,
the last days.
if there's no other old business, I have a couple things for new business.
Can I just add one thing? You know, I know this has been really difficult for everybody. Nothing was intended personally. I would just really like, my goal, my only goal is going forward, that when we have special town meetings or town meetings, that the warrant articles are specific, not vague. People need to know what they're voting for, how much it is, and what it's being used for. And then they need to know that it was used for that, that's all. It's just, it's very simple. And I just think that would, and I think Judith was referring to some of that when she was explaining some of the things when you were using closure account money, et cetera. It needs to be specific in the warrant so that people know what they're voting for and where it's going and what it is. And that's really my goal in this whole situation, has been to just get some clarity and questions answered. It's been, I've appreciated coming to the meetings. I mean, I admit I never came, and I should have, and I will from now on. But I appreciate that. It's really interesting to see the workings in the bonus fund. My other question is, so even though Susan is not the registrar, she still has to do all this stuff for the voting?
At this point, no, she has to do her responsibilities as clerk, but you'll
Right.
start working with the registrar too now.
The voter registrar just registers voters and checks them in on the day of.
I understand that, but so she has to get all the paperwork and all the printing and all that stuff done first? I mean, that isn't something that the registrar helps
It
with?
sounds like a lot, but it's only twice a year.
No,
it
I
is a
know,
lot.
but I'm
It is
just
a lot of
saying,
work.
why wouldn't the registrar be part of that, so they can
Well, they
learn?
are, but so this is the deal.
I'm just
The
confused.
state
about
reached
that.
out to Susan and said, hey, Susan,
Exactly,
okay, we've got a timeline, this is
Right,
going
I
on,
understand
can
that.
you help us out? Susan says yes.
yeah,
So, okay, we're gonna appoint you as registrar. So essentially what they're saying is, we're writing you down so we can move this forward, so your
exactly,
town's not held back, and
Exactly.
you are basically able to hold your local election. Your
So-
polling place can be open.
so.
So
is
now the registrar of voters is gonna come in.
it- Okay,
I don't know what your goal is gonna be, and I'm not gonna even speak
Right.
there.
no,
But usually the registrar of voters in the past and the clerk have worked together to divide and conquer election.
they- and
Because
then
they
they
have separate
learn, yeah.
duties, they have in the past, they've had separate duties
Right.
for voting lists
Right.
and accountability
Right.
on various levels with mailings and
exactly.
whatever. So
Right.
it's gonna be really up to, I think, Susan, and the registrar
Right.
and the board.
And
You know,
that's a chance for
to
the
me-
registrar to learn all about that too.
Right, she
Right.
will, but I mean, it's not, the clerk's position
Right,
is, there is more entailed than the registrar's
Yeah.
position.
okay.
But again, we have always had the two in place so that they can divide and conquer over, you know, with the activities that, and the responsibilities that, that come forth. So depending on how that's gonna be handled, I mean, that's just up to them. But, and I'm just speaking
Right.
to try to help.
Well,
I'm
I
not trying to
appreciate that.
interfere on any level.
No, I appreciate
But
that.
having been involved in this process in the past, I can tell you the value of having two people.
Mhm.
And I have no doubt Susan is capable. I have no doubt that Ms. Weiser will learn quickly. She's, you know,
Right.
she seems to be an office-oriented person.
Right,
But again, it's like, you know, this is an election. Elections have been a high-profile thing. There's a lot of scrutiny.
absolutely.
There's a lot of accountability.
Absolutely.
You know, and segregation of duties is your biggest CYA that exists on any level.
Right, exactly.
And
On any
I-
level.
On any level.
On any level.
I just have to wonder why 99% of towns don't do it that way.
I agree. That's fine.
I think the concept here is always going to bring more people in. It's a good, like, kind of like, step in, get your feet wet, check it out. You know, it's not a high, it doesn't require a lot of time. It is a very limited scope as far as what you have to learn.
Mhm.
You have to go to a seminar. You know, you can attend the MMA seminars online, I mean, they're all virtual now, you know, so.
I'm just gonna say that as far as the voter registrar, Ed Beauchamp is still on our incoming voter list.
Okay, so you're gonna find as you start working through, I will tell you from personal experience. My father died in 1994, and he was removed from the voters list, or whatever this wonky time frame, you had to wait and then remove him. He reappeared in 2005 on the voter list.
Interesting.
The state's database is not all that great.
Okay.
And you're gonna find, you're gonna be very frustrated, because you're gonna add people to your list, and you're gonna be like, where are they? They're not gonna show up. You're gonna find that people show up that you've removed. You are gonna be really disappointed moving forward with the structure of the Secretary of State's office as far as this component of it
Well, that's
goes.
good for all of us to know.
They've struggled with it, and when they say that, the prior clerk and registrar,
Mhm.
didn't use CVR, oh, they use CVR.
Mhm.
They use CVR all the time.
Mhm.
The problem was, Angie resigned in July, and Barb resigned in August. CVR, when they started sending the election material forth, and whatever else, the other part of it is, wasn't being attended to because there was nobody in the position to do it.
Right.
And your board can't do it, it's specific to the clerk and the registrar,
Right.
and as you know, you have verification and authentication steps you have to process through. So at this point, you know, for them to say, oh, well, we took it over, yeah, well, they took it over, but nobody was doing it because there was nobody here. And all of our work through last November, moving through June, and you know, you requested voter lists, they were up to date. Barbie and Angie kept things moving forward, so.
Thank you.
So you're not gonna have a lot to deal with when you get in there. You may have some, you know, I know that Leslie signed up new voters the night of town meeting. So that's gonna be where you're gonna have to that's where you're gonna have to start and make sure I am on the list. Because they don't, and then, of course, you deal with absentee voters, that's not the registrar.
Lindsay will have to
Yeah,
be
so-
sworn in.
Right, and swearing in of the new, so again, it's like, they have to work as in the past, they work together, and you're, you know, you work with each other, you're her deputy, she's, you know. It's not a money thing, it's just kind of like a give and take thing. A working environment.
That's it for old business. New business, I'm just gonna put out the supplies that we need. Evan has the new debit card, he's gonna activate it tomorrow. And I was just hoping that I would have permission to order supplies for the office. It's probably gonna be about $500.
Wow.
Yeah, we are way behind on a lot of stuff. We've got probably 300 pieces of paper left in the office. That's why I didn't wanna copy those minutes and that kind of thing, so.
You really only need any paper, we have envelopes, we have,
We have enough.
I'll double check my tax law for
Yeah.
envelopes, but I'm pretty sure there were 2 boxes in there. Cause they're renewed, ready to return address.
Yeah, you have to have all the tax bills.
I mean, we can get office supplies without,
Right, I mean, we use the debit card, we don't use, we don't use a check.
that's not something that we need to vote for, is it?
Well, I just wanted everybody to be aware that we.
Well, you should be aware of what's being expected
Right.
because you
Yeah,
have.
well, no, for sure, but I mean, as
I think
far as
that's
like,
Sandy's point, and this is that she's trying to just make everybody aware, hey, I'm
this is
gonna order these
we-
supplies and this is where we're at.
I'll put out an email of the
Yeah.
supply list before I order it.
Yes.
How's that? Is that a good idea for the board?
Yeah.
Is that
Yep.
okay, Charlie?
Sounds
We
good.
should have a small limit on that card too,
Absolutely.
right? Like $1,000
$750 a day.
for the debit card.
But we're not gonna be ordering that much stuff, I can tell you that. So I make a motion, we get these supplies orders,
Second.
Charlie seconded it, all in favor? Thank you. I just wanted to go over a letter I got from Department of Labor, in connection with, a complaint from an employee of monies not paid in July. There is an assessment of penalties. If the penalties were assessed, it would have been $150. It's saying, I think it's saying, is an employee very strong, what does it say?
There are no penalties assessed.
Right,
Cause Evan.
if penalties were assessed, so in other words.
When I was working with Evan, we didn't know, there were no penalties
No.
assessed.
But I have to accept their decision, I just have to write them a letter and say that we accept that decision in 15 days. If they don't hear from us, it becomes final. But no penalties will be assessed, so that was good news. And the employee has been paid, so that's good. I just wanted you to be aware.
Was it ever determined if you need to pay unemployment insurance?
Yes,
Was that,
and
did you get
because
that
they're
from
not,
the state?
he's not a full-time employee.
I pay that on I have to pay that on every part-time person that works for me.
We don't,
Is it because you're a municipality?
exactly.
And you got that in writing?
And we do, I made my own, just cause I was curious,
Right.
and I'm curious about a lot
Well,
of
I
stuff.
know, cause it just needs to be right.
As moving forward,
Mhm.
because I was gonna be kind of like just working a little bit with Evan, and I
Right.
just wanted to know myself on a different question. But, no, we're a governmental entity and we don't
Okay.
have full-time year-round
That's
employees.
fine,
We have
that's fine.
salary positions that are paid monthly.
But you
Also,
have-
I
you
was
have
very
other-
nervous because there was a lot of chatter on Facebook about, being remuneration, including, interest, and I was like, Jesus, it's like, we almost have to pay that, and I was like really nervous about it, and so again, he's not a full-time
Okay,
employee,
right,
and so
okay.
there is no interest.
There was no interest, no
Okay.
statute that would
Yeah,
Support.
demand that we
Okay.
pay
And
that.
he's a municipal employee, so that's.
and we do
Exactly.
have workers' comp coverage for
Yes,
employees.
So-
yes,
Okay.
Maine Municipal, we have, all of our insurances are covered under
Good,
Maine
cause
Municipal.
remember the time we didn't have that and we had to pay the $40,000 to the man that cut his finger?
Yep.
Yeah, so.
I remember that, and
And
I
I just,
try.
I knew at that, well, I knew at that time that
I've never
it
heard that
was
story.
voted that we would carry it, but I didn't know if that ever got lost. in the-
Evan and I have also done with Joe from Trio some, we have some information on social security.
Right, right,
Right, that we've been looking into, which has been good.
right, and that's, I think it's just, I think it's just a case of it being
It
You-
should
it's
not be
like-
included, number one, it should not be included in any of the terminology under plantation charges.
right, exactly.
It's a separate line, and it's
Exactly.
not included in that number. That
Exactly.
number is specifically for plantation charges, heat, light,
That's
electric.
right, and I know from, I mean, just my own experience, I've been talking to Chuck about it, I said, that doesn't belong under
Right,
plantation charges.
Having it be in the article was wrong to begin with,
Right,
okay? Having it be, will the plantation raise whatever for
Right.
social security is right, and we walked through that today, actually, with Joe.
I had
And-
Joe show me that my trio is doing payroll correctly today. We spent all
Yes,
day doing
that's
that.
wonderful, that's wonderful.
And you know, he was like trying to run reports to show me, you know,
Right.
things, and I was testing him really.
Right,
like,
right.
I wanna be able to tie and make sure that it's working, and it is working.
Right, that's
And,
wonderful.
As
we have the
as we
updated,
expect.
That's
you
right.
know, information in there, so the tax is calculating correctly,
Tax
it's being
rate
pulled
correctly.
out of the
The right
checks
percentages.
correctly,
right
and
percentage.
we are paying our share of it correctly.
Great,
And the
So,
employees are paying their share,
and employees are paying their share,
so
and we
there's an
looked at that.
employee
so the
share,
$18,000 is not the right figure for social security.
it should be 12.
Okay, I thought it should be less than that,
No.
but that's fine.
Because every year the tax tables incrementally increase.
Well, they've gone down though because of inflation. It used to be 7.5 and now it's 6.2.
Right,
Right.
Right.
but
But
moving
then
forward, right,
Medicare is like a 1.6
Right,
something.
right.
okay,
Exactly.
so again, so shifts in your
Right.
payroll are gonna affect that,
That's
okay?
right, of
One
course.
of the things that happened this year is we went from an independent contractor to, a regular employee that we're covering under our underwriting now, so they're a payroll employee.
Right,
The FICA, Medicare, all that's
Right,
coming
right,
out, so that's
exactly.
increased. So roughly, so right now, you're really at around, we figured 10 grand, but we wanted to, we said,
Right.
okay, I say we, and it's
well,
not
I
me,
know, I
but
understand.
it's,
We wanted to have
working
extra, we wanted to have
together.
extra in there in case we
We
hire
wanted to have
somebody.
cushion,
Right,
so we
of
said
course,
2,000,
that's
so
fine.
12 grand.
That's fine.
Is, so the 18, so if you look at the town report, one of the
Right.
things that was not done accurately.
Right, it
Have
says
two
payroll
treasurers.
taxes is 16.
Okay, so they're adding up everything.
That's
They
right.
added up everything,
Right,
including the employee,
exactly.
because the way it's structured in
folks.
Trio.
I'm so grateful
Good
for
night.
getting this, because this has just been, I knew that wasn't right, but I didn't know how we were
Well,
gonna ever get
I
to
knew
the
it was
point.
right, but I wasn't saying anything until we had
Right,
somebody on board,
exactly.
so
Exactly.
anyway, at this
That's
point, you have the way that the chart of accounts is set up, it's very voluminous. And
Right,
so you have a tax line for
Right.
every salary position,
right,
for FICA,
Mhm.
Medicare, state withholding. And then you're gonna have, under the general fund, which is gonna be new, you're
mhm.
gonna have a tax
Alright,
line
right.
for state and federal.
That's right,
And at the end of the year, Evan's gonna be able to match
that's right.
the employee
That's
numbers,
all it needs to
the
be.
state and
Right.
federal
That's
numbers,
right.
and
Thank
then
you,
everything.
Lord. I've been dealing with this for 20 years. It's
And-
more than 20
but-
years, in my own mind, but
What
I've
was
never-
wrong was a
Yeah.
number of years ago is it was presented that the town was
That's
paying the
right.
state, the employers, the
Right,
employees match, and that never happened. Cause I can assure you that I have deductions taken out of my check.
Yeah, my
Right,
time is-
But we need to
is-
finalize this meeting.
And then can we
Yes.
also clarify that we're getting paid in November for work that we did in October, for instance? That we aren't getting paid in October for work that we're doing and going to do in October?
Okay, so let me just say this. Having been through the bullshit with all of this, quite frankly, you're assigned a salary. You all have a salary, okay? Whether you take it at the beginning of the month or the end of the month, Sharon, it's math. You either can say, okay, we're paying you at the beginning of the month for last month, or we're paying you at the end of the month for the next month. So it depends on what you wanna do, nobody really cares. But I'm gonna say, it would be cleaner to run all of the officers' salaries at a specific time,
Mhm. That's right,
so that Evan
that's
can,
right,
can have clearer payroll reporting.
absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
so whether that is, no, so it's not gonna fall into a bi-weekly, it's gonna fall into a monthly.
That's fine,
But your hourly folks are still gonna be your bi-weekly.
Bi-weekly.
that's fine, that's
I don't
So
mind
that's
fine.
that.
where we're at.
I'm just
I think
saying
that
My
works.
problem with
that
it
we
is
have to
if you
wait
paid
a
in
month.
advance and you
Yes.
resign and you walk away, are you gonna pay that money back?
People in the past have paid that money back.
Well, they're good people.
They've been
They're
required
good
to
people,
do,
but
they've been required
you
to
can
do so.
understand what I mean.
I absolutely can understand, because we have had
That's
very, believe me,
And
yes.
I would love a job where I got paid in advance for my
Yeah,
work that I
it's-
haven't done
no.
yet.
No, it's
Yeah.
basically now,
It's
everybody
just
gets paid
clean.
monthly.
It's just cleaner, it
Yeah.
really is.
Monthly for the previous month's work.
No.
That's up to you all to decide. I don't know, but you pay monthly.
Monthly it is.
Let's
You
just
can
say
label it.
previous Sounds better to me, in order to get paid for the previous month.
Yes.
Okay, so then, when
And
you
if
wrap
we-
up on fiscal year end and you get paid in July,
You can't get paid
you're
in July or
paying,
June.
you're paying,
No.
Yeah, there's an
You
overlap.
can't do that, you can't do that.
you're in a different fiscal
You can't.
year.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have to actually pay somebody 11 months out of the prior fiscal year and 13 months
That's
out
why
of the
we
next
get paid
fiscal year.
monthly in the current month.
So it's for the, right. So Evan, are you good with that piece of it?
Well, yeah, I mean, you know,
That's kind of like what we broke out everything so that we could make the payables associated with each month,
Yeah.
including the payroll. So that's where we
With that
started.
warrant, because of a warrant situation.
Yes,
Okay.
so like July,
This is
all the
across
July
over at the
payroll
end
and
of
bills
this
were in
year.
July, same with August,
Keep
September.
paying the month.
So we broke it down so we could project expenses to the revenues and
Yeah.
pull
Can't do it.
what he could pay. And so, at this point, I think you're in a good, I think, we're in a good place, with things. You just need to-
Well, that's good,
yeah,
Yeah, we need to
ready
get,
to go home?
yeah.
yeah.
and no more citizens' comments and questions? Motion to adjourn.
I drove
A
now.
second.
There you go. Motion to adjourn, what
It
time?
wasn't personal, Judith.
What
It
time?
could have been anybody talking.
8:31.
8:31.
It's
Thank
just,
you.
you know.
I will shut up, I will say nothing if I'm offending any of you, I'm not
Absolutely.
stepping on.
You've been a
any-
big
Jenny, I
help.
always
That's why I
appreciate your
don't want to
knowledge.
take
Who
it personal, it's
seconded
just
the
that, you know,
motion?
we've
I did,
time to,
Kristen,
No.
all in favor, yeah.
yeah, take this
Yeah.
over, refresh our.
I
brains.
always appreciate your wealth of knowledge.
I have no idea.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
Yeah, you week out or so. I'll just, yeah, I'm gonna get a moderator for the meeting too. We're gonna have somebody
Charlie.
here.
Good night, everyone.
Is that this? Hey, Chris? Hey, Chris? Can I talk to you? Yeah. I'm not a bad person,
I don't think you're a bad person.
Legal thing, it just like the way I was, came across yesterday when I came back, I just wanna tell you that I didn't mean to cross any,
Can you see me before you go?
Yes.
Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, this just came to my attention.
No, I know.
I'm not here to hold anything. I can
I
tell.
saw that, the very first thing on the agenda, and I have been asking her for weeks, because I am under pressure to get stuff done, and I was committed, we need a register. I knew that I didn't really want to ask me, so I was like, okay, well, let's get a register.
I don't wanna ever offend anyone here, and I just wanna try to make
I
as
just
clean
wanted
a
to swear.
decision as I can.
I just don't want you to think I'm a shitty person.
I'm not judging you, I can promise that. I mean, to me, I just wanna make good decisions for the town, and that's like.
Me too, and that's sincerely.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm not a hateful person, I'm not, that's not me.
When I say that I'd love to see some of these young people get it done,